awesome kids, very, very kind. They'll talk to anyone. They want to go with anyone. They're just looking to have as much fun as they can. Jack just absolutely loves bugs, dinosaurs, and anything like that. But Lily loves girly things, but she also loves doing everything with Jack, bugs. They're like best friends, not just brother and sister. No idea. I had no idea. I'm still searching every day. Still searching every day. I'm waiting for information. I have to let them do a lot of their stuff with the aircrafts and everything else, and dogs, and searchers. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be coordinated, and I can't just go running through the woods. I want to, but I just can't right now because the search is just so far out.
I'm just staying as hopeful as possible. I want them home. I want to hold them. And I want them home.
I'm still holding out hope. I don't know why they didn't find anything from Jack's pull-up to her backpack or any of her belongings at all. They just haven't found anything. When we noticed that the children were gone, immediately jumped in the vehicle, surveyed all the areas, many dirt roads, many culverts as I could, and waited for the police to get there. My mother had to kick some people off the property because they were saying that I did it. I had something to do with it, and I'm the only one here fighting for them, which is sad. I'm absolutely exhausted at this point after going through 6 days of virtual hell. It's absolutely crazy. I just want to clear it up for everyone. Clear it up for everyone, not just the people online making crazy accusations and everything else. Every day when I wake up, it feels like I'm reliving a nightmare of May 2nd. But the main feelings from sadness have just turned to anger because there's no evidence as of after 1 month, and it's really taken a toll. I know that they're working hard and they're using every resource they have, and it makes me hopeful because that's all we have at this point is just hope. I'm going to keep fighting for the rest of my life to find these kids. That's the only goal I have at this point. Me and my family still go out sometimes and search, but everything's been searched that we can really dive into at this time. They have over 12,000 man-hours searched in the woods, and they're planning on doing more, which I'm really grateful for. I know the truth. I didn't kill Lilly and Jack.
It's been 6 weeks now since you've seen Lilly and Jack. I just want to ask, how are you holding up?
It's been a long 6 weeks. I know that everybody basically in the world at this point is always wanting to know what happened. It's been from sadness to anger at this. And I know the RCMP and major crimes are working around the clock trying to piece everything together, and I'm grateful for that. But it always leaves the question, 6 weeks has gone by, and we know at this point they're not in the woods, and where are they?
Did you feel in the beginning that they suspected you?
Of course. The stepfather was always a prime suspect right off the beginning.
You felt that from the beginning?
Yeah.
But you don't feel that now?
No, I don't feel that at all. I asked for the lie detector exam, the polygraph exam. I gave them my phone. I told them do drug tests because there's a lot of rumors online about a drug party. I know the person that said there's rumors, and it was just to take the heat off themselves.
Was there any kind of party?
No.
Was there any kind of gathering that someone might have thought was a party?
No.
There were no people at the house?
No. Not the night before.
Okay, you mentioned you offered to take a polygraph test.
Yeah.
Did the RCMP take you up on that?
Yes, they did.
And how did that unfold?
That unfolded in my favor. They obviously know I wasn't lying about anything.
So they said, yep, great, thank you, come in for a polygraph test.
Yeah, it took a little while to set up. And
when did you do that test?
I don't know the exact date, but that would be at least 3 weeks ago, probably.
So roughly 3 weeks after the disappearance.
Yeah.
And I think most Canadians wouldn't have any idea what's involved with that. Can you describe the process? You go in and just tell us right from the start.
We go in, sit down in a big comfy chair, and they have multiple sensory pads. You have them underneath your forearms, you have them underneath your butt, and you have them underneath your feet with your shoes off. You have a sweat gland on one finger. You have a measuring instrument for blood flow that goes in and out of your hand. And you have a cuff on your arm for blood pressure to measure your pulse.
Were you nervous?
Yeah, I was extremely nervous. Especially with the first question they asked you, did you kill Lilly and Jack?
That was the first question they asked you?
Yeah. Yeah.
What went through your mind when someone's asking you that question so point blank like that?
Your mind has a massive release of chemicals, I guess you would call them. It's like your stress levels just astronomically through the roof, and your body doesn't know what to do, because it's not every day the way you're hooked up to machines in an interrogation room where someone asks you questions like that.
What other kinds of questions did they ask you?
All the questions pertain to the death of Lilly and Jack. Are you accessory to the murder of Lilly and Jack? They were all.
So all of the questions assumed that the children are no longer alive?
Yeah.
There were no questions at all about, did you take them somewhere? Could
No.
they be somewhere?
No.
The police have done a number of polygraph tests. They've done 53 formal interviews. Do you know who these people are?
Yeah.
That's a lot of interviews.
It is a lot of interviews. A lot of them are my family, people that live in the area. And those interviews, typically, my interview was 4 hours. And a lot of the interviews from my family were 1, 2 hours. So there's a lot of time taken up, and they ask detailed questions.
Do you know who else actually took a polygraph test?
I mean, I do, but I'm not going to say anything that's going to impede the investigation.
Okay. When did you find out the result of your test?
Immediately right after.
What did they say to you?
You did a good job, you passed.
And how did that feel?
Good.
And did you feel that there was any further suspicion on you after that point, or was that sort of conclusive?
No, that was really when I seen the turning point for it starting to taper off with investigators.
Do you know if Malaya has taken one?
I don't know if I can say it, but I will anyway. Yes, she did take one.
Okay, she took one. Do you know the result?
No. RCMP weren't allowed to tell me. I asked.
You said you feel like everyone in the world wants to know what happened to Lilly and Jack.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think this is getting so much attention?
Well, just the mysterious and nature of everything and how strange everything is. The RCMP, you know, I mean, they have to keep a tight lip on everything, but there's a lot more that meets the eye with the case.
Is there something that you think the public doesn't know, that you can share, that you want the public to know?
That's a hard one, because I don't want to impede the investigation in any way. It is still a missing persons investigation. It hasn't pivoted to any type of criminal investigation. But the kids were seen the day before. I know a lot of people didn't know that. I still see a lot of stuff online that the kids could have been missing for days. They were out of school for days, and they were seen in the Glasgow area on camera the day before the disappearance in the afternoon.
Where was that?
I don't know if I can say that, but it was near the Highland Square Mall.
Was it with you?
It was with me, Malaya, and Meadow, and Lilly and Jack were there too.
And are the police aware of that?
The police were aware of that since.
Do they have that video?
Yes, they do. I also talked to my coworker in the parking lot as well, and he verified that with investigators as well. So for all the speculation, they were gone days ahead of time, or they were seen the afternoon on camera before the disappearance.
Why do you think the police are asking for video dating back, days before that?
Well, the reason for that is they want to see the traffic of the vehicles on the roads in the area, right? Maybe vehicles that were traveling that area a lot over the last few days prior to hand, or vehicles that, weren't seen in the area, or vehicles that were seen in the area, like local people that are, making frequent trips past the house, or which it's all considered evidence. I mean, the more pictures and videos is the better.
They say they have hundreds of hours of video.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know if they found anything on those videos?
I think it was up to 2 weeks ago, They had footage that they examined for evidence that was 8 kilometers diameter out from the house. So that's, I mean, that was after a month. That's how long it took to get footage and review it 8 kilometers out. So
But what's on the video?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm only limited by what they tell me.
How often are they in touch with you?
Investigators now, I'd say maybe once every 5 days. And usually I'm the one who calls or messages them.
And how has that changed over the course of the 6 weeks?
Well, from the beginning it was almost daily, tapering off to where it's only like once every 5 days now.
And how do you feel about that?
It's good and bad. I mean, I like to talk to them in person about any little small details I come up with or anything I can try to bring to their attention which may help the investigation. So I don't get to see them often, so it's always over phone or messaging, and it's hard to really convey what you want to say when you're not in person. But then I also know the eye's not on me. The investigators don't see me as part of the disappearance.
How do you know that?
Well, when you're going from daily to tapering off every 5 days, I mean, I already gave them everything on my phone. I'm the one who originally said, here, take my phone. We'll go through all my banking information. We'll go through all my stuff on my GPS from Google.
And you were offering all that up right from the
Yeah, I
beginning.
offered everything.
And why were you doing that?
To show them that I want to get the investigation moving. I know I have nothing to do with any of it. A lot of speculation is, you killed the kids. We'll just come out and say it straight as it is.
What do you think when you read that?
It's a lot of nonsense, obviously. I know the truth. I didn't kill Lilly and Jack. And I just think a lot of people online they're seeking drama, that's the main thing. Everybody's allowed their own opinion, like I said before, but it's hard on the people that were actually there and missing the children. Still haven't got to see any of my kids, including Lilly and Jack, and that's been really tough, going from a family of 7, including my other 2 kids that live in Halifax now. Going from a family of 7 in the blink of an eye, your family's ripped apart and you're left alone. Doing a polygraph exam and just ask them to do, here you go, search everything, just do everything you can for the kids, right? They've done a full background check as much as they could possibly do, and I mean, I'm pretty thankful for them to spend the time and spend the resources to try to figure out everything. It's mysterious as it is, because the distance from the garbage bin to where the blanket was found is almost 1 kilometer.
So are you thinking that the dogs will go in there and won't find anything?
I know for 100% they won't find anything.
So what do you make of the fact that they are bringing the cadaver dogs in?
Well, I'm actually pretty happy about that, because it's been about 3 months I've been asking for them, and it's just been delayed I guess till now. But I know things take time and dogs are hard to get.
So what does this say to you? Because I mean, they are dogs searching for human remains.
Well, I know that it's going to be really hard work now that there's so much vegetation in the woods, but I'm pretty happy that they're going to be able to do it. I even hope that they bring more than 1 dog if they have access to more than 1 dog.
So what are you happy about? What do you hope this will bring?
I would just like to see maybe the social media speculation theories and accusations, maybe they're not going to stop, but slow down, because at this point they're getting ridiculous.
So are you thinking that the dogs will go in there and won't find anything?
I know for 100% they won't find anything. I mean, that's probably why they waited this long to do it. It's just to keep the public informed, I guess, that they're hard at work.
Do you think it will rule things out?
Yeah, I think we'll rule a lot of things out. We'll rule out that the RCMP are, working hard, and there's no human remains on the property.
Is there any piece of you that's preparing for the fact, like, what if they do find something?
No, because I didn't do anything. I know Malaya didn't do anything. I know my mother didn't do anything. Those are 3 people on the property. I mean, after the polygraph exams, they should have known right there. We didn't kill any of the kids, or we didn't kill the kids.
Why do you think that they're not possibly, like why, that they didn't possibly wander into the woods?
Well, with the amount of resources that were used, and I mean, for everything from drones to helicopters to classified technology and all the searchers on the ground, I mean, searchers on bicycles, they did everything. On the pipeline, they took in ATVs and Argos and side-by-sides. They used everything they could.
Tell me about, what do you make at this point of the investigation of what RCMP have been doing or not doing? What's your stance on all of that?
Well, I would like to go in for another whole round of polygraph exams. I mean, that would be, and maybe bring some new people in that are doing the polygraph exams. But I know they're hard at work. I've filled notebooks with just trying to help them find leads or give them any kind of small detail, answer as many questions as I can, or, you know, but I'm doing everything I can. I usually try to meet with them 3 times a week, and sometimes they're not around for that, or phone calls or texts, but whatever we can do.
So I guess to bring it back to the cadaver dogs, since you've been asking for it for so long, I guess, you don't have any information on how that will happen?
No, I don't even know where quite they're going to start searching, or where they're going to do. Are they going to expand out onto the properties? The property there is fairly small. It's only 2 acres. So.
Yeah. Will it be the whole 8.5 that they searched previously?
I don't know. That's a lot. That's a lot. That would be quite a few. That'd be a couple weeks probably on foot doing that.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you look at the documents, and you know some of the other stuff RCMP has said or done, there's 70,000 drone photos that were taken during the search. That's a lot of photos. I mean, they had to review and do everything. So they would have found some kind of something there. Or even when they brought in classified technology, they scanned the whole area. They ever found a beaver and a coyote. That's all they found.
So why do you think this step is necessary?
Well, it just rules out one and brings the book a little bit closer to being closed. I mean, one chapter at a time.
How have you been doing?
Well, I'm not going to say I'm doing well, but doing better than I was at the start, I guess. It's physically exhausting, mentally exhausting, emotionally exhausting, but every day you wake up and it's a new day. New hope. And just keep going forward.
Tell me about the toll, like what you were just mentioning earlier about social media.
Yeah, social media has been quite a circus, we'll call it. But I can't control them, and they're free to judge, but maybe just use a little bit of this before they start typing or using AI for pictures.
I mean, we're coming up on, is it coming up to 5 months?
Yeah, in the second, so yeah, it's less than 2 weeks.
Like, did you ever imagine that we'd be here still talking about this?
No. I thought with the amount of resources and amount of different units for RCMP working on it, everything from dive teams to canine units, and they have dedicated teams just for social media. They have a dedicated guy that just sits there and watches highway cameras. So.
What's it been like for you now that we're back to September, school's back, and seeing the school bus go by every day?
Yeah, no, it's hard. There's quite a few school buses that go by, and there's a lot of kids in the area I see, and it's sad. It's not just sad for Jack and Lilly, but it's sad for everybody who knew Jack and Lilly. They had friends, they went to school, and it's just, they had teachers that seen them every day, and it's just hard on everybody.
I know we ask you this every single time, but why do you keep doing it?
For Jack and Lilly. I don't do this for myself because I'm going to see this online later, and people are going to analyze it. Every time I move my hands, every time I open my mouth, every facial expression, they analyze everything right down to a T. I know that.
What would you like the public to know?
I want the public to know if anyone has any information, just please come forward. Call the RCMP, call your local police department, call Crime Stoppers.
Do you still think they're still alive?
Yes, I hope so. I mean, that's all we have is hope. The dogs were already, on scene, and they were there for about an hour before I got there. I didn't know the exact day when the arrival was going to happen. So it was even a surprise to me, but at the end of the day, everything's ruled out there, and I hope this is speculation, turns elsewhere. He said that Thursday didn't have enough details, and we think you did something to the kids Thursday night. And I said to him that Thursday was just an ordinary day until I woke up on Friday morning. And that's when, life changed.
The cadaver dogs, or the human remains dogs, were here recently. Walk me through that day. You knew that they were coming, but you didn't know when.
I actually got back from a visit with my daughter, and I come home and the dogs were already, on scene, and they were there for about an hour before I got there. I didn't know the exact day when the arrival was going to happen. It was even a surprise to me, but at the end of the day, everything's ruled out there, and I hope this is speculation, turns elsewhere.
So you arrive home after visiting with your daughter. They're there, and then what happens?
They're there, and then, I walk up, greet them, and meet them for the very first time. It's like, can I come close to you and the dogs? And he said, oh yeah. And then, investigators were there, or one investigator, and, had a conversation with him, and they said, yeah, we're going to do the property. I said, perfect, let's do every square inch. And that's when it began with, where do you think we should search? And in my mind, these guys are they're supposed to be the best. They should have mapped the terrain, looked at satellite imagery, and found every single speck on that property that needed to be searched. And they should have had, better coordination with reviewing those maps and people involved from the start with search and rescue to determine areas they need to search.
What happened? Did you tell them where to search or advise them, or what did you say?
Yeah, I gave them any indication that, soft grounded areas like the marsh, the ponds, anything like that. But I said, you're welcome to do it anywhere. They did inside the house, they did, everywhere, vehicles, they did everything they could in the amount of time that they were given to do it.
So what did they search when they came inside? How did that go?
Well, when they took the dogs inside the house, they ran from one side of the house to the other, waiting for the dogs to, bark or pick up a scent, and nothing was located. Same with all the property. There was no indication of anything. They didn't do it once. They took in both dogs. They did the whole thing. They did up the road. They did the blanket site. They did pipeline where the boot print was found. They exhausted every single area within Lansdowne.
Yeah, the pipeline trail right here where we're standing.
They did. They spent every hour they could searching, not planning or anything like that. They were boots on the ground, just doing whatever they could.
You were mentioning that you had a bit of a tense reaction with one of the dog handlers. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, it was a little bit heartbreaking and saddening to hear the words that came out of his mouth. And for me, all I was trying to do was ever help. That's all I've been doing, is cooperating, and to see that and hear that, it was pretty saddening.
What did he say?
He said your Thursday and all the way leading into Friday morning, there's not enough detail. And I said to him that Thursday was just an ordinary day until I woke up on Friday morning. And that's when life changed. There was nothing life changing on Thursday. It was a normal day. So therefore, there was nothing detailed that needed to be remembered that day until Friday morning.
So he was mentioning something along the lines of something happened Thursday night, and your story isn't matching up?
Yeah, well, not just matching, it didn't have enough detail for him personally. And then that's when I asked him, do you know anything on the case? And he said, not really. I've seen you on the news once. And that kind of alarmed me, or, you know, shocking, because you're having somebody that's trying to get you to admit to something and they don't know any details. So therefore, my Thursday didn't have any details. Your knowledge of the case didn't have any details. So you shouldn't try to force something on me without knowing any of the background.
Did he make any accusations at you?
Yeah, he did. He said that Thursday didn't have enough details, and we think you did something to the kids Thursday night. And I asked him, like, what are you talking about? Like, I just ran through whole Thursday and Wednesday with you. Like, we just spent the last 20 minutes talking, and there's not enough detail because I thought it was an ordinary day. In the end, like, cadaver dogs were there, they went through, and the story continues. In conclusion to all this, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. I'm still helping investigators at every turn we could possibly think of. And hopefully we see some kind of resolution soon, or some kind of outcome that's positive.
How's that communication in your relationship with RCMP now, 5 months later, and then given that interaction a few weeks ago?
At this point, I go to them. They don't ever come to me. It's just like I have to contact them, I have to go to them, and it's been like that for a little while now, because I've given them so many leads, and there's only so much I can do. I was told not to pursue any leads, so I'm not the one who's going to be going out there investigating.
Why do you pursue leads? Because you're still out there talking to people and finding out new details.
By pursuing leads, they mean if I have a lead, I don't track it down in person. But yeah, like, I'm still open to talk to the public. I have no fake accounts. I don't have anything that would be not under my name. Like, I go fully into every comment with my name present. So I have nothing to hide. People are free to message me whenever, and people are free to discuss anything they want with me. Any angle, any perspective that they have, I'm open to it. And I will pass it along to investigators if it's a solid perspective. Every tip matters. All 800 and almost 900 of them matter.
Do you find that engaging helps for you?
It doesn't help me mentally, that's for sure, but I still do it. I'm basically desensitized to all judgment at this point, so if anybody has anything, you can just come to me, or you can go to Major Crimes, you can go to your local police department, they'll pass along tips, or Crime Stoppers. Because this whole situation has drug on for way too long, and it's absolutely destroying everyone involved.
So what does this tell you now that the cadaver dogs were in, they didn't find anything? Do you think, like, the part on the woods, do you think that's case closed?
It should be case closed. It should have been case closed from the very start. Because with the amount of resources and technology and amount of searchers and everyone deployed in that first initial search, that was a lot. That was an 8-kilometer radius outwards. And it's just the amount of money and people's time, injuries that were sustained during that. It's just, people should have just opened their eyes to see that we need to look elsewhere. I pointed many fingers, and I think that's where the people should look.
Not here.
Not here. Not in the woods. If fingers have been pointed, let's start taking a look.
What's going through your mind as you see their picture every day still?
It's just heartbreaking to know that 5 months have passed and school started, the summer ended. Like, this should be a chance for kids to be interacting and doing kid things, enjoying their lives as kids. You know, like, it's not just all the kids that miss them from school and community, and, you know, at this point the whole country that, you know they're missing. It's just like I have kids too that know that they're missing too, and like, that's heartbreaking for them. Like, Meadow doesn't understand, but one day she will, and she knows that I didn't do anything. I know Malaya didn't do anything. I know my mother didn't do anything. Those are 3 people on the property. I mean, after the polygraph exams, they should have known right there. We didn't kill any of the kids, or we didn't kill the kids. I didn't miss the first vigil, and I would definitely not miss this one. Definitely not on Jack's birthday. It's an important date for everybody over the last 6 months, and I wouldn't miss this for the world.
Okay, Daniel. So what's the latest with this case?
I think we're gonna have to dive into some questions so I can, really try to answer that, because, I mean, there's so much. But what I can say is my blood was taken or drawn, and they got a few drops in my blood for that, to check my DNA, because my DNA is obviously going to be on the blanket. But I can't really disclose, and I'm pretty limited on what I know about the blanket at this moment. But I can say, with the DNA collection, something's definitely proceeding forward with that.
How did that go when they took your sample? Did they take you into the station?
Yeah, it was done at the station. An investigator did it. They have an applicator, which, they hit the end of your finger with it, just like you were testing for your blood sugar. Just, pinch the end of your finger, and I had to squeeze for 20 minutes to get some blood out. But after we get those 4 drops out, it goes onto a little pad, and it's put in a envelope and then plastic bag, and then sealed up for evidence.
Do you know of anyone else who had their sample taken?
No. I was never disclosed any of that.
Yeah.
Nor do I ask, because I know I would not get an answer in return.
Right. You've been asking questions.
Yeah, I ask a lot of questions. Sometimes they can't answer.
And was that voluntary, or did they
That
call
was
you?
100% voluntary. They never have to get a warrant to do anything. I'm always cooperative. Just like in the past, I keep asking them, do you want my phone? Do you want me to do more polygraphs? Like, I'm open to everything. And I always tell them that. They say, Daniel, no, we don't need your phone. Daniel, no, it's not necessary to do any more polygraphs. So at this point, I'm very cooperative, And when they did up the paper for consent on my DNA, they fill in the paper, May 2nd, missing persons case for Jack and Lilly. And then they go through it, and then there's the box checked for criminal involvement, no criminal involvement. And they check the box for no criminal involvement, and I put my signature on it, and there was my consent.
How did you feel when you saw that box was checked?
Very happy. But I've known since the start that I'm 100% innocent. But to see investigators say that to me before, but then also, see it visually with my own eyes, it was a big thing.
So it's your understanding, you believe, that RCMP do not consider you a suspect?
I'd say 100% I'm not considered as a suspect at this point.
Why is that? I
mean, from that box being checked. But we can also go back to when I had my polygraph exam. When we went over the questions beforehand, all the questions were on death, right? So they concluded that by the end of it, I was truthful with all my answers. So I didn't have anything to do with the murder of Lilly and Jack. And there was no questions on the disappearance or abduction or kidnapping or anything of that nature. So that leaves me with, I didn't murder the kids. I have nothing to do with the disappearance, because they did not ask any questions on that.
And so you mentioned that in the polygraph, they didn't ask you about the disappearance and whether you had anything to do with it. But I'm going to ask, did you have anything to do with the disappearance of Jack and Lilly?
No.
Did you kill them?
No.
What do you think happened to them?
At this point, I'm completely just not sure. I mean, I've thrown speculation out in the past, and, narratives that I think, or theories that, what I think may have happened. But at this point, I have to just go with what the RCMP say, because they have so much information, they have more resources, and they're the ones that are fully invested in this case. They have the, intellect and professional training to do what they do. It's been 8 months, and I know a lot of people think that, the kids are not alive anymore, but I hold out hope 100%. I'll always hold out hope every day because there's no reason not to.
Do you think it's criminal?
Yes. But it will not pivot to a criminal case or a criminal investigation from a missing persons until they have a suspect and they're going to be investigated and then, formally charged.
Do you get any sense from RCMP that they believe this is criminal?
Yes, but they don't openly share that or talk about that concept with me. That's pretty limited. They use use the least amount of words they can to convey what they're trying to get across or questions, or it's usually me who tries to dive in depth with them, but they're pretty tight-lipped on everything, and they should be.
How many times have they officially interviewed you?
Formally interviewed. The very first one was about 4 hours, and since then, I'd say about maybe 5 times. I don't know the count exactly, but probably around 5 times.
And when was the latest one?
The latest one would have been, on the blanket. So, and the actual formal interview for that wasn't very long. That was probably about 20 minutes. But the amount of time I spend with them is a lot because we go over a lot. It's just me asking questions and how can I help them, and so it's usually like an hour and a half to 2 hours. I only plan on being there for 20 minutes or whatever they have to do with me. But it's just like we just keep talking.
And so when you say interviews, that would be recorded, on the record interrogations?
Yeah, that's the audio recordings.
There have been allegations from Malaya's friends and family that you were abusive to her. Were you?
No.
They said that when she moved in with you, she cut off all contact with them and you monitored her phone.
She also monitored mine. We both had the same passwords on her phone, and her friends, she blocked her friends on my phone, and she blocked them on her own phone.
So how would you describe your relationship before the children went missing?
Yes. I don't really want to talk on that because I don't really want to talk on too much to do with Malaya. It's best that we don't.
Okay. And so you mentioned that there were some accusations about your past drug use. I've read some things about it being drug use that week, the week the children went missing. Is there any truth to that?
No, I didn't have any drugs. And Major Crimes knows that. Or they would have, charged me with possession of drugs or drug paraphernalia. There was nothing at the house. So, and they know that.
What is your history in terms of the drug use? What would you like to share, just to clear the air?
I did not have any drugs. People thought I was doing drugs during the search. Absolutely not. I don't owe any drug dealers money. I don't owe anyone drugs. I'm not a drug dealer. I don't manufacture drugs. Can't really speak on anything more than that, I guess.
Those have been all the accusations made at you?
That I have, manufacture drugs, sell them. I give them to people to sell. It's crazy.
No drug party that night?
No, there was no drug party. There was no leaving during the middle of the night. When we pulled into the yard on Thursday afternoon, it would have been about 3:50 or just right before 4 o'clock. The vehicle did not move till the next morning until I got in it and then went searching for Lilly and Jack that morning when Malay was on dispatch or contacted dispatch.
How have all of these allegations impacted you?
At the start, it didn't bother me because they're obviously all not true. Basically anyone can just go on there and say whatever they want without any recourse at all. And over time, you know, it started to get to me because it's just constant, right? I tried to keep up on it all and tried to, you know, tell everyone the truth and correct everyone, but it was just too much. When those groups start to get so large and there's thousands and thousands of comments and thousands of questions every day, that's too much. And then you have YouTube creators, they just go on and, you know, they basically become delusional. They have their mob and they look to destroy, or they're completely obsessed with me and the case.
Yeah, I mean, what have you learned about the true crime community? That
it's absolutely vicious and, I said this word a lot, but obsessive. And it's a lot of those creators in the true crime community, it's like basically, you know, talking to like a barnyard animal, I guess you could say. They don't add any value other than just being there.
Do you feel at this point things are getting worse? Or has it eased up at any point?
The community it's becoming more aggressive with their conspiracies and theories due to my lack of engagement online. I've received numerous death threats, and Major Crimes has, you know, notified me on that, and, you know, they're working hard to basically get them under control and find out who's doing them.
How are these death threats coming in?
I mean, I get them daily on my phone. That's a normal thing, but Major Crimes was aware of them. I'm not sure if they came in for tips, call-ins, or some other way, but they didn't want to dive into that. They're pretty limited on what they can tell me about any of it. I mean, basically because, you know, they don't want me to get worried and everything like that, but pretty serious stuff, I guess.
How are you dealing with that?
I'm dealing pretty well with it because, you know, nothing really scares me in that aspect. It's been 8 months, and I don't really put much thought into where much, you know, I don't recognize it as, you know, having any impact on my life personally. But I imagine a lot of individuals are probably like scared for me, I guess, because, you know, they care about me. But for me personally, I just see it as like another rock that skips off the water. There still is, you know, people with big hearts out there and open minds, but they're not on there posting. But I do have loyal supporters, and I appreciate every single one of them.
So now that we're coming up, getting to 9 months in this investigation, what's your sense? Where do you think the case stands?
I think the case, it's moving forward, but there is so much information to, you know, really, you know, examine and really go through before you can complete this part of information, then move to the next. And I mean, there's so many tips being called in, and then there's tips that are absolutely useless. Like when you see me out in public, don't call in a tip. I mean, that's just total nonsense, because you're slowing down the investigators and you're slowing down the social media team that they have, and, you know, or the guy who checks the tips and reviews the tips. I mean, you slow him down when you're just putting in tips that say, well, we seen Daniel at a gas station buying a Gatorade, because that has happened.
Right. Wow. What would you like to see happen with this case?
I would like to see it closed and Lilly and Jack found safely, and someone is charged with criminal offenses.
Because that's what you think will be the result here?
Yeah.
You don't think they're in the woods?
No.
Have your own theories shifted at all along the way?
They have, but they always come back to what I originally thought. After I just, you know, go over all the information so many times, or lay in bed and go over everything in my mind from the very beginning to where it is now. The theories in my mind change, but I still have to go with what RCMP say, because they have the most information on the case. And I know that's their job to bring justice for Lilly and Jack and to bring them home safely. No, all those allegations are false. And as I said, it was just to paint me in a bad light. That's basically why there's all of those allegations of abuse came out. I never have physically abused Malaya.
Martell says he approved of these redactions being lifted, adding not much has changed when it comes to his public reputation.
I've been, trying to keep the public up to date as much as possible. My image hasn't changed at all. It was always Daniel's evil, Daniel's a monster, and with that painted narrative, the public automatically will just jump to the belief of guilt.
He says he provided his DNA to run forensics on Lilly's blanket, which was found in the woods by family members on May 2nd.
They didn't need a warrant to have my DNA, so I was willing to do it. I watched them sign on the consent form, no criminal involvement in the case of Lilly and Jack. So it was nice to see that, that box checked for no criminal involvement. I signed my name on the consent sheet, and they do have a suspect, and they dive into investigating that suspect or group of individuals. Then it will pivot to a criminal investigation at that point.
So this is the patio door?
This is the patio door.
That Jack and Lilly would have
That Jack and Lilly came out of.
So it's the morning of May 2nd. Take me through what happened.
Okay, I was up at 6 o'clock, sat in there and had my tea. And then on Facebook, 7 o'clock, I get up, come over here, fed my chickens. My brother, Ron, called me at 8:48 and asked me if I wanted to go to town with him. And I said, no. I said, I'm staying home. I said, I'm going back to bed. Okay, I went and I laid down. Next thing you know, my dog started barking and the kids were out in the yard. Now, you can see there's 2 swings where the kids play. My bedroom is right there. I heard the kids. This is where the kids' swings are. This is where they always played.
And so that's where...
That's where I heard them. And I can hear everything in that trailer. If 2 kids get out of a fence, and Jack and Lilly are all the time yelling, especially Lilly, come on, Jackie, let's go, Jackie, let's go, Jackie. It's all I hear out here. When the kids get out of the fence and come out through here, I would have heard them yelling, come on, Jackie, let's go, Jackie, let's go. I didn't hear anything. The next thing I heard is I heard Daniel yelling. He was yelling for Jack and Lilly. I didn't get up because I thought he was yelling for Jack and Lilly to get in the house. So the next thing you know, came out of the trailer after I heard Daniel, about, I'd say, 10 minutes after I heard him, I come out of the trailer. I opened up the door, was standing here. Malaya was standing right here with Meadow on her hip. And I come out and I said, what's up? She said, Jack and Lilly are missing. I said, how long? She said, about 20 minutes. I closed the door, got my boots on, came out here, ran up in the woods. Just right up here. The kids have a little fort that they made out of sticks and fir branches, and that's where they go. You can see them and hear them. We went for walks in the woods. I had to practically carry Jack through the woods because there was no way that he was walking through all that tree falls and bushes. I did this whole area. There's an old road up back. When I got up to the top of the hill, I met Daniel. And I said to him, I said, did you find them? He said, no. He said, you coming with me? I said, no. I said, I'm going to search this area. Because when she told me the kids were missing, you automatically think they went into the woods. That was my first instinct. Mm-hmm. So I went up and I did this whole area, this whole wooded area, right up to the top of the dirt road, came back down here and came back down the side of the road, came back down here and came back up the same spot. I went back into the house. By the time the cops were here, I don't know exactly what time, I didn't take my phone. The cops were here. There was a bench sitting here, or a sawhorse, it's over there, was sitting here. I was sitting on it, bawling my eyes out. I was crying because I blame myself for not getting up that morning to see the kids, because if I would have got up, this wouldn't have never happened. Okay? That's why I was crying.
We've heard a lot about the patio door.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's go see that.
Sure.
So this is the patio door.
This is the patio door
that Jack and Lilly would have
that Jack and Lilly came out of.
Okay. And so tell us why we've heard about the patio door.
Because everybody's saying on Facebook, on YouTube, on TikTok that the patio door makes a noise, and why they didn't hear the door open. The bedroom is back there. Okay?
That far window.
The
there.
last window is the bedroom.
And so they would have come out this door.
They would have come out this door
that morning.
Yes.
And then they went and played on the swing set.
Yes.
And that's when you heard them.
That's when I heard them. Right here in this area here. I plan on putting a pool up this year for the kids. You need level ground for a pool. That's what I was doing. I was leveling out the ground to set up a pool.
And this is the Thursday.
This is Thursday.
Right.
Friday, all the investigators, search and rescue and everything, right around here was where they found the only footprint.
This is where the boot.
This is where I was raking that night. That's where the boot print was found, in the mud where I was raking.
I thought there was two boot prints.
There was supposed to be a footprint found away up on the pipeline.
Right.
Malaya sent me the picture of it. That's all I know. There was a footprint found.
Okay. Okay.
But I'm telling you, the footprint was here. The only one that they can confirm that was Lilly and Jack's was right here.
So it was child size.
Yes, a man, one of the investigators came in here and was measuring it all. Mm-hmm. I'm not here to lie. The reason why I wanted you guys to come here and do the interview here is to show you exactly where everything took place. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And to show people that this is what happened. All the stuff that people, all the rumors and accusations about us murdering the kids and burying them on the property, this place has been searched thoroughly. The well has been checked, the septic tank, all the barns were searched. My RV was searched 3 times. The trailer was searched. This whole place was searched. If they want to come back and search again, they're more than welcome.
You've talked about drones flying over your property. You've
Yes.
talked about cars driving down the road and
Yes.
slowing down. What's that been like?
I'm scared to go out sometimes in my own property. I mostly stay around back here. And if I do go out front for anything, I usually have my head down because I don't want people to see who I am. That is me myself. It's not because I'm hiding from anybody. I don't like to be on camera. I don't like my picture taken. I'm just a quiet person that just wants to be left alone, and I mind my own business. I'm just a hermit.
Do you feel as if the finger has been pointed towards you and Daniel?
Yes, I do. Because I live on the property. Come on.
Do you think your son had anything to do with the disappearance of Jack and Lilly?
No, I don't believe Daniel had anything to do with the disappearance of Jack and Lilly. Our heart don't lie, and my heart is telling me that my kid did not have nothing to do with this, and I had nothing to do with this.
People have beautiful hearts, and I know if we give them a chance, everybody can help. Everybody can help, and everybody wants to help. So I think this is beautiful.
My heart tells me these babies are gone. My heart tells me that. I am the grandmother of Lilly and Jack. I am the grandmother on the biological father's side. My son is Cody Sullivan. He's not in jail. He's never been out west. He does not have a criminal record. He's And right now he's living with me. He has been for 9 months.
How did you find out that Lilly and Jack were missing?
The mom of my grandson called me. We were in town. She asked if I heard the news. She sent me the article that was on Facebook showing the kids missing. I couldn't call Malay yet, so I waited till we got home. And I called, well, I didn't call her, I texted her. And she told me that, yes, that the kids were missing, that they've been missing since this morning. I was in a state of panic, shock. But in the back of my mind, I kept saying, well, they'll find them. I mean, I'm assuming that they'd find them. So I told her, well, we'll head out first thing in the morning and help with the search. It was around between 3 and 3:30 in the morning. A couple of cop cars pull into the driveway. The lights wake me up that I'm a fairly light sleeper, so I see the cars pull in, so I knew what it was. So they come inside. They only stood in the kitchen. They wanted me to wake Cody up, and they wanted to know when was the last time he had seen the kids, and that they were just making sure that the kids weren't here. And then they left. So we showed up Saturday morning, me and my sister, and we met up with my daughter, and we started, well, I asked Malaya, I said, Malaya, I said, you know your kids. Nobody knows their kids like their mom. Where do your kids normally go to play out in the yard? What direction do they usually like to explore? And she said, well, they always play up in the little woods right on the side. I said, well, okay. I said, we'll start from that point and we'll work our way out. We had spoken to a search and rescue, and we weren't allowed on the other side because that's where they were searching at the time. So we just started combing through the woods up through there. We were gone for a couple of hours. I'm yelling for Lilly and Jack. We always called Jack Jackie Boy. And yeah, that went on for a few hours, but those woods, I started to feel that I can't see them being in the woods. There's trees everywhere. You literally have to climb over trees, climb under bushes. It is really, really thick. We come back out and I went in to see Malay again. I assumed she was in shock. She was very, very non-emotional, very just flat, monotone. But Malay is very soft-spoken anyway, that she's not usually excitable. I thought that's made her a really great mom. She was an excellent mom. She never raised her kid or voice at the kids. That it was always, now Lily, what did mommy say? And I used to think, now if anybody's meant to be a mom, it was her. A part of me still feels that.
Why only a part of you still feels that? What do you mean?
After seeing the place, seeing the condition of the home, it was like the total opposite of what I knew of Malaya. She was always clean, very clean about herself, about the kids, about her home. This home looked more like a camp. Now, I don't know if it's from all the people that were there, because I didn't show up till the day after, but it was very unkempt. I was pretty surprised.
I love you.
Lily is, she was my little dream girl, that the first granddaughter. And I loved that she had the brown hair and she had a space between her teeth, which I had when I was a kid. So yeah, she was our little princess. Jack was such a sober, serious little baby that he didn't like to smile. You could tickle him, and he would look at you ever so serious, like he was really studying you.
And so how long were your son and Malaya together?
3.5 years, I think it was, yeah. I thought they were the picture-perfect family. Then Malaya started to tell me that they were having problems and she wasn't happy. She told me that she wasn't happy and she thinks she's going to leave. And I told her that we supported whatever she decides. That one good parent is way better than two broken ones.
And then how did that change your relationship with Lilly and Jack?
I thought it was going to change, but it didn't. Yeah, it didn't change. Malaya, she was a sweetheart. Anytime we wanted to see the kids, she'd come by for a visit. She'd bring them by all the time. It was actually really, really good.
So when was the last time you saw the children?
A year and a half, almost, really. It's about a year and 9 months.
How did you deal with that?
Really, to be honest, maybe I didn't deal good enough with it. I looked at the fact that when her and my son separated, my son walked away. He chose to walk away, that she wanted sole custody of the kids. So she petitioned the courts for sole custody, and when she did that, he said he was done.
Were you ever formally questioned?
Yes.
So then it's about a month after Lilly and Jack are last seen that they come and formally question you.
So it's about 3 weeks. They questioned Cody for an hour and a half in the vehicle, and then they questioned me for 2 hours in the vehicle.
How did that feel to you?
I didn't mind. I mean, to me, I expected, I'm the grandmother, so it wasn't a surprise to me. I'm assuming the sooner they do all that, I wish they would have done it sooner, that the sooner they can move on. So I didn't have a problem. My son was a little upset about it. He said they made him feel like he did something wrong, and he said he hadn't seen the kids in 3 years. So he was a little upset about it, that he said that they really come at him hard. They wanted to know what her favorite color was, and he said, they were babies when I seen them last. He said, she was just learning what she wanted to figure out to eat. I don't know what her color is. So yeah, he was pretty upset.
Have they ever talked to him again since then?
A couple of days ago, they had contact, and they told him that they weren't looking his way anymore, that everything was fine.
And have they ever given you any information?
No, it's always the same thing.
Which is what?
They've got everybody on it. They are looking at all avenues. They can't divulge any information that could compromise their investigation. It's the exact same words.
Why are you so sure they're not in the woods?
I have children. I have grandchildren. And I see what kids are like through the woods. There's no reason for any child to wander deep into the woods. There's just not. I think somebody hurt these kids. I think somebody hurt them.
You don't sound very hopeful.
No. Our last day searching on Monday, and seeing the woods and seeing the searchers and everybody everywhere. There's no way those kids are in the woods.
Well, it's been a very stressful weekend for an awful lot of people in Victor County, and I know beyond. Our little children mean so much to us, and myself and others can reflect back to any time in our families when little ones have strayed off somewhere, and panic sets in a hurry. And when a time goes by and you're not able to find them and you have to call in some help, very, very stressful. And they often say it takes a village to raise a child. Well, all of Victor County is a village right now, and everybody's hoping and praying that these little ones are going to be found. Well, I've never seen people as stressed out until I go back to West Ray in '92. It gripped the county, of course, in the terrible loss of 26 miners, but I'm not trying to draw a parallel to that here, but it's the same feeling. People are really stressed out, and they desperately want information. They desperately want to know what's going on. And there's only so much to tell them, that these people keep looking. The searchers are out there, the RCMP are there, the ground search and rescue, or the firefighters. Tremendous amount of effort being put in this, and I must say that from across the province, there's all kinds of search and rescue units here from neighboring counties and farther away than neighboring. And just a lot of people, there's dogs here from various places, drones, they're putting a tremendous effort into it. But yet no results. We're in day 4, no results. So people are getting more anxious by the hour, and it's really hard to not let your mind stray somewhere else when you've been at it that long. Or I'm not talking about the searchers, but talking about general public. You know, if people don't have information, they're surmising that other things and going with what they're surmising because there's no further information.
Yeah, you mentioned the search effort there. This is also the first chance we've seen the new Nova Scotia Guard involved in a search effort like this. How are they helping? Have you noticed their impact at all?
I'm not that close, to tell you the truth, to be able to say who's doing what, but everybody's appreciated right now. And I know the general feeling in Victor County is great sense of appreciation for all those who are trying so hard to find these little ones. And so I don't know the particular role that each of them is playing. I will say, because people have asked me, that our role as council, my role as warden and our councilors, we depend on our specialists or our experts, being those firefighters, those ground search and rescues in the RCMP. We fund them to do the job when the time comes like this, and they're experts at doing their job. So they ask us and others to more or less stay out of the way so they can do their job. But it's not council's job or my job as a warden to be leading this search. Our job is to make sure we have these units, that we fund them through our budget, and they're there when we need them. No, I have not. Again, I believe in stepping back and allowing the people to do their job. And the family's under a great deal of stress, and they're, you know, certainly being asked for a lot of interviews and a lot of questions. And, you know, that's human nature to be questioning. And but I think it's a tremendous stress on the families, and I think it's important for all of us to you know, not get carried away on social media or whatever, surmising that this or that or whatever's in somebody's head, but to leave the families be. And they're having a tough time, I'm sure. Just put yourself in the case of your children missing or your grandchildren missing, and the terrific amount of stress that's there. And so I think the family should be left alone with their people there to comfort them. And again, the best we can do is try and support. There is help, but it's hard at the first when it happens. You know, just a terrible amount of stress on the families. But we do have a lot of. We've improved a lot with our mental health, but we've got a long ways to go. And it's not just when there's crises like this. You know, we still have a long ways to go in mental health. But I think if those families, when they're ready, step forward to get the help that they need, I think the help will be there. But a lot of times, as you know, you have to be your own best advocate. But I know that neighbors and friends are certainly there to help the family of the young kayaker and the families now. We've got to do everything we can and to keep praying.
I know that there's a lot of people pulling for these kids to come home. We've heard a lot about the impact that this is having on the community at large and the family, and it's really important that we locate these children and get the information from the scene here and from anyone who might have information about the kids and their habits. So it's been really important to have engagement from anyone who knows these kids.
Based on details gathered so far, we have confirmed that Lilly and Jack were observed in public with family members on the afternoon of May 1st. Investigators are now asking anyone who has dash cam footage or video along Garlick Road between noon on April 28th and noon on May 2nd to contact Northeast Nova RCMP Major Crime Unit. Investigators remain committed to exploring all possibilities surrounding the children's disappearance.
The boot print was on the pipeline, which is why we're extending our search efforts down the pipeline. We don't know for sure it was from the children, but it's the only real thing we've had to go on thus far, so we're just kind of investigating that further.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I am Corporal Carly McCann, Provincial Public Information Officer for the Nova Scotia RCMP. Thank you all for being here today. Bonjour, je suis la caporale Carly McCann, agent d'information publique pour la GRC en Nouvelle-Écosse. Merci de votre présence aujourd'hui. First, I acknowledge that we are in Mi'kma'ki, the traditional and unceded ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. I also recognize that African Nova Scotians are a distinct people whose histories, legacies, and contributions have enriched that part of Mi'kma'ki known as Nova Scotia for over 400 years. Premièrement, je reconnais que nous nous trouvons aujourd'hui à Mi'kma'ki, le territoire ancestral traditionnel et non cédé du peuple Mi'kmaq. Je reconnais également que les Néo-Écossais d'origine africaine constituent un peuple distinct dont l'histoire, l'héritage et les contributions ont enrichi la partie de Mi'kmaq connue sous le nom de la Nouvelle-Écosse depuis plus de 400 ans. At this time, I invite the following officers to the podium with me. Inspector Mike Ingalls, District Policing Officer for Northeast Nova District RCMP, Staff Sergeant Curtis McKinnon, Pictou County District Commander, Staff Sergeant Rob McCammon, Acting Officer in Charge of Major Crimes and Behavioral Sciences Group, and Amy Hansen, Search Manager with Colchester Ground Search and Rescue. Staff Sergeant Curtis McKinnon will provide you with an overview of the efforts to find Lilly and Jack. He will review the search and investigation that began on Friday morning and provide the current status and next steps. We will take questions from media present following that. I invite Staff Sergeant McKinnon to the podium. J'invite maintenant le Sergent d'État McKinnon à prendre la parole. Merci.
Thank you all for being here today. First of all, our thoughts go to the family and loved ones of Lilly and Jack Sullivan, to their communities, and to everyone who's worked day and night in an effort to find the children and bring them home. Since the first 911 call was received by the RCMP, reporting that 6-year-old Lilly and 4-year-old Jack had wandered away from their home on Garlick Road in Lansdowne Station, a multi-agency search has been underway. Teams have been working around the clock. This search has included many agencies, including volunteer ground search and rescue teams from across Nova Scotia and New Brunswick, the Civil Air Search and Rescue Association, known as CASERA, Department of Natural Resources Air Services, Nova Scotia Public Safety and Field Communications, Nova Scotia Guard, Joint Rescue Coordination Center, Salvation Army, the Canada Heavy Urban Search and Rescue Task Force 5, and several RCMP units, including police dog services and drone operators. Since Saturday, because we treat all missing person files as suspicious until our investigation leads us to determine otherwise, our Major Crimes Unit has been engaged. It's been an all-hands-on-deck effort using every available resource and tool. Since the search began on May 2nd, it has been concentrated in the Garlick Road area and has covered 4 square kilometers of heavy, wooded, rural terrain. Up to 160 trained volunteer searchers, along with many others, have been involved in the search each day. Tens of thousands of search hours have been dedicated to scouring the area, and GSAR has confirmed that over 100 tracks have been laid using GPS and grid searches. Efforts to locate Lilly and Jack have also included 2 vulnerable missing person alerts, posting their children's photos and information on Nova Scotia RCMP website and social media accounts. Our social accounts have more than 300,000 followers, and releasing information to local media as well as reporters across the country. Lilly and Jack have made headlines from coast to coast. While the search has been ongoing, RCMP officers continued with the missing person investigation, speaking with family and community members to gather tips and other information that could help locate the children. We have not received any confirmed reports of sightings. Lilly and Jack's family has been provided with regular updates on the search and on the missing person investigation. They've also been afforded supports. As of today, May 7th, the active search efforts to locate Lilly and Jack will be scaled back. We're transitioning from a full-scale search to searches of more specific spaces that have already been searched by our teams. We want to circle back to increase the probability that all clues have been found. And when transitioning from an active search to a scaled-back search, the probability of survival is taken into consideration. I want to assure you that our missing persons investigation continues. We're not packing up, and we're not giving up. Our investigation is broad, and it won't end until we know where Lilly and Jack are and can bring them home. We'll continue to investigate and chase leads for as long as and as hard as we have to. We have the best investigators working every aspect of the file. We continue to appeal to anyone who have information related to our investigation and who has not yet spoken to us to contact the Pictou County District RCMP at 902-485-4333 or Crime Stoppers. Before I close, I want to reiterate that our hearts go out to Lilly and Jack's family, to the community, and the people who've worked so incredibly hard to date. Many of us have children of our own and have wanted nothing more than to reunite Lilly and Jack with their loved ones. Thank you.
Thank you, Staff Sergeant McKinnon. I'll now provide his remarks in French. Merci à tous d'être présents aujourd'hui. Tout d'abord, nos pensées vont à la famille et les proches de Lilly et Jack Sullivan, à leur communauté et à tous ceux qui ont travaillé jour et nuit pour retrouver les enfants et les ramener à la maison. Depuis le premier appel au 911 reçu par la GRC signalant que Lilly, 6 ans, et Jack, 4 ans, s'étaient égarés de leur domicile sur la rue Garlock à Lansdowne Station, les recherches ont été lancées par de nombreuses agences. Les équipes ont travaillé sans relâche. Plusieurs organisations ont participé aux recherches, notamment les équipes bénévoles de recherche et de sauvetage au sol de la Nouvelle-Écosse et du Nouveau-Brunswick, l'Association civile de recherche et de sauvetage aérien, également connue sous le nom CASERA, les services aériens du ministère des Ressources naturelles, le ministère de la Sécurité publique et des communications sur le terrain de la Nouvelle-Écosse, le Centre conjoint de coordination des opérations de sauvetage, la Salvation Army, la Garde de la Nouvelle-Écosse, la Force opérationnelle 5 de recherche et de sauvetage de milieux urbains de niveau opérationnel lourd du Canada et plusieurs unités de la GRC, y compris les services cynophiles et les opérateurs des drones. Depuis samedi, parce que nous traitons tous les dossiers de personnes disparues comme suspectes jusqu'à ce que notre enquête nous amène à déterminer le contraire, notre groupe de crimes majeurs a été mobilisé. Il s'agit d'un effort collectif qui fait appel à toutes les ressources et à tous les outils disponibles. Depuis le début des recherches, le 2 mai, celles-ci se sont concentrées dans la région de la rue Garlock et ont couvert 4 km² de terrain très boisé. Jusqu'à 160 chercheurs bénévoles formés avec de nombreuses autres personnes ont participé aux recherches chaque jour. Des dizaines de milliers d'heures de recherche ont été consacrées à fouiller la zone et les responsables de recherche et de sauvetage au sol ont confirmé que plus de 100 parcours ont été effectués à l'aide des systèmes de localisation GPS et de grilles de recherche. Parmi les efforts de retrouver Lilly et Jack, mentionnons aussi la diffusion de 2 alertes de personnes vulnérables disparues, la publication des photos et des renseignements sur le site web de la GRC en Nouvelle-Écosse et des réseaux sociaux, et la transmission de renseignements aux médias locaux ainsi qu'aux journalistes de l'ensemble du pays. Lilly et Jack ont fait des manchettes d'une océan à l'autre. Pendant que les recherches ici se poursuivaient, les agents de la GRC ont continué avec l'enquête sur les personnes disparues, s'entraînant avec la famille et les membres de la communauté pour recueillir des renseignements et d'autres informations qui pourraient aider à localiser les enfants. Nous n'avons reçu aucun rapport confirmé d'observation. La famille de Lilly et Jack a reçu des mises à jour régulières sur les recherches et l'enquête sur les personnes disparues. Ils ont également reçu du soutien. À compter d'aujourd'hui, le 7 mai, les efforts de recherche actifs pour trouver Lilly et Jack passeront d'une recherche à grande échelle à des recherches dans les espaces plus spécifiques, des espaces qui ont déjà été fouillés par nos équipes. Nous voulons faire demi-tour pour augmenter la probabilité que tous les indices aient été trouvés. Lors de la transition à une recherche réduite, la probabilité de survie est prise en compte. Je tiens à vous assurer que notre enquête sur les personnes disparues se poursuit. Nous ne faisons pas nos valises et nous n'abandonnons pas. Notre enquête est vaste et ne s'arrêtera pas tant que nous ne saurons pas où se trouvent Jack et Lilly et que nous ne les ramènerons pas à la maison. Nous continuerons à enquêter et à suivre les pistes aussi longtemps et autres intensément qu'il le faudra. Nous avons des meilleures enquêtes qui travaillent sur tous les aspects de ce dossier. Nous continuons à demander à toute personne qui ne pourrait avoir les renseignements liés à notre équipe et qui ne nous a pas encore parlé de communiquer, s'il vous plaît, avec le district de comté de Pictou de la GRC ou avec échec au crime. Avant de conclure, je tiens à rappeler que nous sommes de tout cœur avec la famille de Lilly et Jack, avec la communauté et avec toutes les personnes qui ont travaillé si fort jusqu'à ce jour. Beaucoup d'entre nous ont des enfants et nous souhaitons rien d'autre que de réunir Lilly et Jack avec leurs proches. Merci beaucoup. We will now proceed with the question and answer period. For the benefit of all participants, please provide your name, the outlet you represent, and to whom your question is directed. We will be limiting the question and answer period to one question and one follow-up. Nous allons maintenant procéder à la période de questions et réponses. Nous vous demandons, s'il vous plaît, de vous limiter à une question et à un suivi. Pour le bénéfice de tous les participants, veuillez indiquer votre nom, l'organisation que vous représentez et à qui vous dirigez votre question. Donc, on va commencer à ma gauche ici, so we'll start on my left over here if someone has a question on this side. Yeah.
Here, Moran for Radio-Canada. You said you're going over areas that you've already seen. What's the purpose of that? When before that you were telling us you were extending the search, and if you could say it in French and in English.
If you'd like to start in English, I'll repeat in French.
What we'll be doing is we'll be continuing on. Just because today the search is being scaled back, we still will continue on, and we will go back to areas that we feel that we may need to re-look at, and we may expand out if there's any type of information that leads us to believe that we need to do that.
So, if you'd like to follow up, sorry.
Like why? Like how would that help you to specifically go to places that have been searched by hundreds of people, like you're saying? Like how could that help you find new links?
Yeah, because of the terrain, there could be different types of things that we may want to try and get back in if we are able to locate anything that may come up that the searchers didn't go catch the first time. But we will do everything we can to try and find Jack and Lilly. Yeah, and based on the weather, the season changes. We don't want to leave, and we're not leaving. It's just that this part of this search is being scaled back.
So, en français, on continue de faire la recherche dans les mêmes espaces qu'on a déjà visités parce qu'avec les changements de météo, les changements de saison pendant l'année, on va peut-être trouver des nouveaux indices, des nouvelles choses là qui peuvent nous aider à établir des nouveaux indices pour trouver Lilly et Jack. On continue avec la recherche ici et notre but ici continue de retourner Lilly et Jack à leur famille et à leur maison. Yes.
I guess, you've done an incredibly exhaustive search in the area, and major crime is also here, and having not found these children, having done a very thorough search, can you tell us like the role of major crime in this and what you can tell us about that investigation?
Rob McCammon. Robert and MCCAMON is the last name. So major crime became involved very early in the investigation. We're able to bring in some specialized knowledge and skill sets, and we help with the information management and decision making. As we scale back, as we've identified, there are certain areas that are going to be relooked at that could contain a confined area perhaps and maybe need some more specialized search areas. But I'll leave that to the search crews to expand on. And we're going to continue pursuing any leads or information that comes in and the stuff that we do have. We have engaged in all areas of the RCMP. All tools that are available to us are being considered and engaged when appropriate.
Do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, as a follow-up, that I guess the general population looks at it and says, you've searched very thoroughly this area.
Mm-hmm.
You would have found them if they were there, which then makes people, certainly on social media, people are assuming, rightly or wrongly, that there's a criminal element to this.
Sure.
And can you, I know, what can you tell me about that, your work on that potential?
Well, I can't really speculate on the investigation, obviously. That wouldn't be fair to the process. But we are constantly reviewing everything that's been done, looking at all different facets of available information, and we'll make decisions on that. I can't really comment on the details of that, but we will pursue every lead that becomes available and take it to where it needs to go.
So is there a question? Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, Nicholas again with CBC National News. You at first said it wasn't suspicious, you think the kids just wandered off. Now you're saying every missing person's investigation is considered suspicious. Is it still suspicious? Are there any suspects here?
Again, I'm not going to comment on the details of the investigation, but I will comment, when somebody goes missing and we become engaged as any police officer, not just major crime, we will look at all the details and make considerations on the information we have, right? When it comes to a missing person, we have to automatically consider are there people that have different charter implications and things like that? So we will automatically start to consider what evidence is pointing us towards a suspicious in nature. Again, I can't comment more than that, but every missing person case, we would approach it from the same process. A methodical collection and review of information with decisions based on that.
And the family has said they believe it's an abduction or they suspect it's an abduction. Are there now any clues or anything leading you to think that that might be possible?
If we had any information that led that way and we felt that we could provide anything with the public, we would have done that. We would have got that information out. We're working very closely with the family and we will pursue every avenue, but again, I'm not going to make any specific comments, but anything that would point towards that, we would immediately take steps to address things that need to be addressed.
Blair Rhodes with CBC. I think this question is most appropriate to Staff Sergeant. You talked about survivability. I was wondering if you could address that specifically, given the ages of the two missing children and the weather conditions we've experienced this week.
Yeah, so the incident command person with the RCMP, along with the search manager, at some point have to make a decision when would it scale back this search. And a number of factors would have to take consideration, and they would, based upon scientific information that they have, to deem when that time has to come, and that is now. And a lot of those factors come into play would be the age of the missing persons, the weather, how long it's been, what area has been covered. So at that point, they have to make a decision on that.
I hate to ask this, but given their age and the conditions, if they were still in the woods, do you think they would still be alive?
I guess it goes back to all those factors that have to come into play, right? So we are scaling back because it's time to move to a different part of the search.
First off, sir, Paul Holmes from CTV. Scale back versus active search. I know yesterday there was a number at or around 140 searchers on the ground, 4 square kilometers, you said. Can you quantify what scaled back is, like fewer searchers, smaller area, larger area? How does that look going forward?
Yeah, so just to go to the first point, there's been a lot of searchers here, and we can't thank them enough for being here. They've given up. A lot of them have been here since day one, and they have given up. Some have taken time off work, some have left their families behind, and we are very grateful for that. Saying that, we will look in on them and their senior managers to give us some recommendations of what else we can do, but we will take that and we will explore whatever we have and whatever we can do to check it in spots that need to be checked or whatever. But at this point in time, after today, we just won't see all these searchers here.
My follow-up for the searchers.
Sure. Amy, if you're comfortable with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I saw a person yesterday who was dressed like you, limping, being carried out. People were hot and sweaty to the Staff Sergeant's point, a lot of hard work. Can you talk about how rough it was in the woods? Like, it looks almost impassable. What did you see, or what did your people on your team see when you went into this wilderness?
Well, these woods, they are very thick. There's a lot of the hurricane damage from Fiona a couple of years ago, and we've had teams struggling to get through areas, and I can't say anything more about the searchers. They're pushing through all of these areas, going through all of these deadfalls, going through waterways and anything possible just to cover their search areas. So we know that everything has been so thoroughly searched that it's time to, as they say, scale back, and we are exhausting people, and we're starting to see more injuries coming back the last couple of days, and it's hard terrain. Amy Hansen.
And
S-E-N.
And I will note as well, having had the opportunity to participate yesterday in a helicopter search as well, it is immensely clear looking from above, based on the orange tags on the trees, how thoroughly and meticulously the area has been searched, based on the indications you can see even from up in the air of how thorough the searches are. So I also give a hats off to the many searchers who have participated here in support of finding Lilly and Jack. Yeah, would you like to go ahead?
Just with the search still continuing in the forest, is there evidence that the children are in the forest?
Very slowly.
You good?
Are radios able to pick up Staff Sergeant McLean here with this train? Or? That's it, okay.
Wait.
We'll wait for it to pass.
Side effect of safety, we had them slow down.
So I'll make it right back. Is that any better at this point with the bell passed? I'll note as well the reason that the train is passing by slowly is out of respect for the fact that Lilly and Jack are missing here. So it's passing slow in order to have their staff be aware and note the ongoing missing person investigation happening in the area here. So that just does, again, speak to the number of people involved and aware of this search and everything that's happening in this area, and the awareness and the way that the information has spread so widely through Nova Scotia and Canada. So I think we were with your question. Okay. Have we found any evidence that they are?
Yeah, so at one point there was a possible boot impression found, and I can tell you that the search and rescues then performed grid searches of that area and expanded out from that area in a meticulous fashion. They're focused and tight searches, and nothing else was found.
And did you believe that the evidence you found was from your children?
It appeared it was a possible boot print of a smaller boot print. So when we have a possibility like that, that's when we exhaust that area as well. So make sure that wasn't a clue that we were missing.
Thank you.
Lindsay Armstrong with Canadian Press. I'm wondering, I understand K9 unit has been involved. Have cadaver dogs been involved at this point?
I don't believe cadaver dogs have been involved at this point yet.
Will they become involved? And I'd also like to circle back to Blair's question on survivability. If you could give a little bit more detail there about how you're making the equation, bringing in cadaver dogs and assessing survivability.
So cadaver dogs could be the next step in terms of when we talk about scaling back. That could be another option that we now look at using. And getting back to that point, I mean, that decision was made based on a lot of factors. And if we thought they were alive right now, we'd still be out there.
So could be, does that mean that no plans yet?
Not that I'm aware I can speak to of if the cadaver dogs are coming or not. I can't speak to it.
Thank you. Is there a question here? No. Well, so George, do you two have something global? No. Okay.
I do.
Sure.
Hi.
Thank you.
I'm Lindsay Jones with the Globe and Mail. Wondering if you can clarify, we heard major crime has been involved since Sunday, is that correct?
Saturday morning.
Since Saturday, okay. So do you believe the children have met foul play?
Do you want to talk?
Again, I'm not going to comment on specifics of the investigation. We're going to continue on, and when we get to a point that we've got information that we're able to make any decisions that are able to be public, we'll let you know at that time. But right now, I'm not going to comment on specifics. So.
Okay, so, but you don't believe the children are alive anymore?
No, based on the experts and the review of the facts, the inclement weather, the time frames, and their age, the likelihood that they're alive right now is very low.
Okay, and can I just ask one more question about the scaling back of the search? Are you reducing the number of searchers out there, or is it being concentrated just with RCMP now, or how is that looking differently on the ground?
Yeah, absolutely. So the searchers will be finishing at the end of their operational period today, and now it'll come back to the Pictou District RCMP, and we'll make decisions and put in plans of how we move forward.
So rather than having the large presence here, the massive number of searchers on scene every day, searches will be based on information that comes in and specifics in order to make things pointed and specific to areas that are pinpointed or specific to a search need in the area. I believe we've gone through the group for questions at this point. So out of respect for the police officers here and the many searchers who are still there, I'd like to conclude our media availability today. Oh, sorry, is there one person with, sorry, my apologies, sorry.
No worries. Alex Terrio, Stingray Radio. You mentioned you're circling back to find clues. You talked about the blueprint. Are there anything you're looking to find, expecting to find, or usually find in these situations?
We're looking for any type of clue, any information to help us out. And then we'll take that information and work forward from that.
Second follow-up, is the blueprint still involved in the search process, or was that deemed to be not relevant?
I can't say it's not relevant, but it was the search was exhausted in that area, and we were not able to find any more clues or evidence in that area. So.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, can you clarify? You just said to the previous question that the ground search and rescue is being called, like the volunteers are being called off after today?
Yes, at the end of the operational period today, they will be done.
Can you see that in French?
À la fin de la session aujourd'hui, les équipes de sauvetage qui sont ici, leur opération sera finie à la fin de la journée aujourd'hui, le 7 mai. Merci. Again, out of respect for the search and rescue teams that continue to be on scene here and the police as well, we conclude this media availability today. And our thoughts do remain with Lilly and Jack's loved ones at this difficult time. Alors que nous concluons ce point de presse aujourd'hui, nos pensées vont aux proches de Lilly et Jack dans cette période difficile. Nous vous remercions de votre attention aujourd'hui. Merci.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Corporal McCann, can you get there's something going on with the felons and everybody's names?
Yes.
The rise in true crime podcasts and the rise in followings and people participating in our investigations, there is a benefit. There's for sure a benefit. We've seen the benefit on our investigations previously. The difficulty just becomes when people, take everything that comes out of these as proven fact.
Many YouTube shows, true crime shows, have been discussing the case of Lilly and Jack. In general, how can these types of shows impact a police investigation?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. You're right. Lilly and Jack is, it's two young children that are missing. So the draw is not just here at home, like it's all over the country. It's international, as you said. So it's this bit of a special circumstance, just given the attention to it. But there are a lot of our investigations, not just missing people, but homicide investigations that do draw quite a crowd. Especially, we look at some of the like our cold cases, I suppose, if you want to refer to them that way. that obviously there's a lot of people that talk about them, people trying to find out information, that kind of stuff. The biggest difficulty that we have when it comes to information that's shared on podcasts, YouTube, that kind of thing, is that as much as some of the information may be accurate, a lot of it gets clouded in information that's not factual, so it's not based on any type of fact. In terms of for the police, when we're guiding where our investigations go, we have to operate in fact, and if we're dealing with information that may not be factual, we have to take, so every time a tip comes in, we have to take investigators that will then go look at that tip. We have to determine, one, is it relevant to our investigation, and two, what is the likelihood that this is factual information versus not factual. So if we look at things that are like, we know, this specific tip, the information that's included in it, we believe that information to be true based on other information we've gathered, or is it likely to be true, or is it unlikely to be true, or is it just not based in fact at all? Every single tip we get then has to be followed up on. Even if we don't believe it to be factually accurate, we still have to follow up. We still have to do our due diligence. So getting tips can move an investigation forward for sure. But when we start to get to the point where some misinformation and mistruths start to get shared on social media or on other platforms, and then that information comes to the police, we now have to put investigators on that information, which is taking people away from potentially chasing down actual real leads that are actually based in fact. So that's the complication that can come from that. So there is a benefit for sure, but there's also, like anything, there's always, there's pros and cons to anything, and that can be the difficulty with this kind of thing.
So you're saying that these types of shows do tend to generate an influx of tips?
Yep, absolutely they do. Yep.
Right, and they have in this case?
Yep.
Right. You mentioned there's the pros and cons. Mm-hmm. Articulate what the pros could be.
Yep. So for example, in looking at other investigations in the past, so we've received tips that basically would suggest to us that a certain person that was not known to investigators may be involved. And while we, at the time, we may not have anything to suggest that person factually, based in fact, is involved, there is a potential likelihood because they have an association to the principal parties involved in our investigation. So we'll go down that path, and sometimes that'll lead us to somebody that we wouldn't have known about before had it not been for that tip. So that's a huge pro. That's great for us. But then we get the flip side where it's a person who may have crossed paths with one of our principal parties 15 years ago, and a rumor or something that's not based in fact gets shared on a platform that then it grows into this huge thing where people are sharing it constantly. The more it's shared, the more people believe that it's actually factual, and then that comes to us, and now we're left to have to chase down this lead that has nothing to do with our investigation at all. But because it was shared so many times, there's a lot of credence that's given to the fact that, well, this must be true because it's been shared by 1,500, 2,000, 100,000 people, whatever the case may be. So it's just those are the pros and the cons that we have to manage when we're getting these tips.
And as you mentioned, that all ties up a lot of police resources.
It can,
so
sure.
Talk about that impact.
Yeah, so obviously it depends on each investigation. It's looking specifically at our major crime investigations, these investigations do generally tend to span longer periods of time, sometimes months, even years. It's not uncommon to have 100+ investigators involved through the life of the file, basically looking at information or trying to direct us where that investigation is going to go. When we get these influx of tips, that is people that we could be potentially sending out to go interview somebody, or perhaps there's a piece of evidence that we need to go collect. It just begins to kind of limit the pool of people that we have available. Now that said, if these tips are based in fact, then absolutely, that's a good dedication and a good use of resources to send our people to go do that stuff. It's when we get these tips that we know that they're not based in fact, or they're unlikely to be based in fact, we still have to send people to that. So now we're taking people away that could be doing something to benefit the investigation, to move the investigation forward. We're now sending them to go do something that we know it's not based in fact, but we have to ensure that we've proven that it's not accurate, because our burden is not to the court of public opinion. Our burden is to the courts, and the criminal courts. It's obviously the burden of proof is beyond a reasonable doubt, and we need to ensure that we're not just picking the evidence that builds that is positive for our case. We also have to exclude and ensure that there's no evidence that would send us down a different path, as a different avenue, as a defense avenue, so those kinds of things, right? So we just have to be it's just one of those things of management of resources, and it can tie up a lot of people sometimes for a long time for things that we know are not accurate, but we don't have a choice. We have to do our due diligence. We have to chase that down.
Given that the rise of the true crime community being more participatory in this day and age, talk about that as it pertains to police investigations. Is this seen as a good thing, a bad thing, or is it sort of, are you of two minds?
Yeah, I think from my standpoint, I think just the dawn of not just true crime, but social media generally, like we're much more interconnected than we were even 15 years ago when I started policing. You know, Facebook and these kinds of things were just beginning to grow in popularity compared to what they are now. And just the way that we get our information just generally, a lot of that information comes from these platforms. And even for yourselves as journalists, there are people that are beginning to go away from, from that, which also makes your guys' jobs very, very difficult. And we're in that same boat. So for me, like from my personal experience, the rise in true crime podcasts and the rise in followings and people participating in our investigations, there is a benefit. There's for sure a benefit. We've seen the benefit on our investigations previously. The difficulty just becomes when people, take everything that comes out of these as proven fact, when often there's very little that's done to actually prove that any of the information is actually factual, right? Like as a police officer and as an investigator, we have to corroborate every single piece of information that we have to either say that yes, this is accurate or no, it's not. True crime podcasts, documentaries, these kinds of things, they're not necessarily held to the same standards. So it makes it that's the difficulty that comes from that, right? So you're looking at one, and it's not just that, there's also the monetization of, people are doing these things, and it's great. Everybody obviously needs to earn a living. That's not, I don't have any difficulty with that. It's just when we're talking about people that are doing these things, they're obviously trying to monetize it and trying to earn money for themselves. And that can obviously sometimes cloud the issue, and especially when we get to this fact-based, driven discussion that we're trying to have. And people that want to participate and have that discussion with us, we're more than happy to. Like, absolutely. It's just this, difficulty with things that are not fact-based.
So the message would be to the public would be to be aware that these types of shows don't have the same standards that the police do, that journalists do, exactly. That not to take these things as fact.
Exactly, right? So everything that the police is doing has to be based in fact. Same thing for you as journalists, that everything has to be based in fact. Not just beyond trying to do our jobs, but the ethics associated to that has to be based in fact. And unfortunately, when you get into people that are starting off their own venture, they're doing this out of their home, or it's a private venture. Most things come from a good place and they're trying to help. It's just the difficulty of having that understanding that the information that you share, once it's out into the world, it's very difficult to control where that information goes, and sometimes it grows, and then it comes to you as either journalists or to us as the police. And we're now left with having to actually make the determination, is this factual, is this accurate, when it's perhaps, at the forefront, somebody who's involved in that type of a podcast or that platform, if they have the ability to do their due diligence immediately, then it might actually be helpful and beneficial to us that we have a better understanding that the information coming to us may actually already be factual because someone has just done a little bit of fact checking just to ensure that it's not, some theory that really has no basis or foundation in fact.
You've mentioned that YouTube shows have generated tips in this investigation. Is there anything else you can point to in how YouTube true crime shows have impacted the investigation of Lilly and Jack?
So that's a hard one because I'm not completely other than doing the interviews and the few things, and I've chased down some of these tips, but beyond that, I don't have the day-to-day knowledge to answer that question for you. That's a hard one. Sorry.
Are these types of shows something that police monitor outside of receiving these tips?
No, not generally, because there's just so many of them. I think it would be very difficult to, outside of the work that we're doing day to day, it would be something that we would need to do in our off hours, and there's just only so many hours in a day. So no, it's not generally something that we monitor. Of course, If something is being widely shared, then we're people too. So the odds are, even in our personal lives, we might have seen this information, and we're like, okay, that may be something that we need to look into, because this actually may be factual. You're at home, kids are running around the backyard, and you're just scrolling, and you see something on Facebook or YouTube, whatever the case may be, and you think, oh, that actually might be relevant. We need to perhaps look at that. So that for sure happens, but it's not something that we're actively monitoring or looking at. No.
Right. Some family members have expressed that they're turning to these types of platforms amid a lack of answers in this case. What would you say to them?
Yeah, I think that's the difficult balance. So it's not even just cases that are continuing to be under investigation and can be for a very long time. It's also cases that are before the court. We have to be very careful with the information that we share publicly, of course. But the information that we provide to families, of course, we provide them more information than we do generally with the public. I think that goes without saying. But any information that we ultimately share, like anything, once it's out into the world, we don't have control with where that information goes anymore. So it's a very difficult balancing act for our family liaison officers to try and manage. This is what we know, but we also have to be very careful, because this piece of evidence may relate back to a specific piece of evidence that other people may not be aware of. And now if that's out in the world, then we have difficulty with kind of controlling the knowledge of this evidence and perhaps strategically how we're going to use that in our investigations. So there's just all these things for us it's a very, very delicate balancing act. Of course, we're people too. We would love to be able to provide all of the information at a moment's notice to everybody at all times. But unfortunately, our mandate and what we're trying to get to is we're ultimately trying to either find somebody who's missing, trying to get justice for somebody who's been harmed, a murder victim, even not looking at major crime investigations, but other just more, I suppose, run-of-the-mill investigations like assaults, those kinds of things. Our job is to try and get some form of justice for survivors of these types of things, or for victims. And releasing too much information, providing too much information may be counterproductive to that end. So the information that we do share is basically being done in such a way to try and especially to families, try and give them at least some understanding of what's happening, but also trying to protect that investigation that directly relates to their loved one, in order to not, potentially jeopardize something, and then we're just completely unable to actually solve what happened, because that would be worse, I think, in my view, than I'd rather get less information, but the police can do their job and potentially get justice for my loved one, than they told me too much, and now the investigation's jeopardized, and there's nothing more that can be done.
Is there any other scenarios where these types of shows can benefit police and investigations?
Yeah, absolutely, there is. I think that especially if we look at documentaries, there's been documentaries about some of our older files in the past, and some of these documentaries or podcasts even about some of our other files, there is it's getting that information to a new audience that may not necessarily be on social media, who's not getting that information or doesn't know that this thing has happened. And from that, we then get new tips from people that otherwise wouldn't be participating, I suppose, is probably the best word to use. So there's definitely a benefit. For me, from my opinion, I guess the biggest thing in my experience is that there is a big benefit. But it's like anything, there's risk and reward to anything that we do. Even outside of policing, just generally life, there's risk reward to everything. It's just about managing the information that's not factual. That's where the difficulty comes with this, and it's having to take people away from chasing down potentially factual information that have to also deal with this non-factual information. That's really all it is. That's just the biggest con is that. But I personally think that there's a huge upside to it.
And is there a situation or case that you can point to help the public understand what the benefits can be, a sort of practical example of that playing out?
Yeah. Great example, actually. So a few months ago, on the Esther Johns investigation specifically, there was somebody So this one didn't actually come out of true crime, but they were aware of this person was aware of the case just by following social media and following our updates, the updates from media, and then also just chatter in the community. There was an item that was the person just happened to be walking, I believe, or was driving through the area, observed down by a riverbed, just down in Greenwood, and they called the office here because they knew to call the office here, and we went down and we were able to seize that item. We're still obviously trying to understand how that item fits into the overall investigation, but that's something that had this person perhaps not been aware of this incident that occurred in the area by virtue of just following the information that's being shared on social media, they may not have thought that may or may not be relevant. They may just never have called. So, like I said, I really think that there is a benefit to it. It's just a matter of managing the good with the bad. That's really all it is.
It sounds like it really just does raise the profile of the case,
Yep.
which can be beneficial to police because they then get information that they may not have before.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. We're almost 5 months from when Lilly and Jack went missing.
Yep.
And we still don't know what happened to them.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we know that yet?
It's a good question, and again, I don't have all the answers on that file, so it's a hard one for me to answer. I would say that it's not. There are other missing person investigations where we're kind of in the same position. You could look at like the Zach Lefebvre investigation down in Yarmouth, for example. That's one from 2021. It's the same sort of thing, right? It becomes very difficult. Missing persons investigations can be very difficult, especially, we'll stand up GSAR, we'll do all those things, and most of the time they're found very quickly. When we get to a position where someone has gone potentially off into a wooded area, those types of investigations can just be difficult. You're dealing with wildlife, you're dealing with terrain, you're dealing with a lot of things. That can make it very, very hard to try and find someone. So for specifically to Lilly and Jack, I really don't know. I don't have enough information to be able to give you that, but
it is still a missing persons investigation?
That's the thing. I'm not sure.
Okay.
To be honest with you, I know they are missing. Whether it's the investigations in the criminal realm, whether it's under the missing persons realm, I don't know. Yeah. Other than, like I said, doing a few interviews and chasing down some of the tips, that's all I know about the file. So.
Sure. Yeah. Tell me about those tips you chased down.
Yeah, so it's the same thing. These tips came in, from what I remember, they were just people that happened to be following some of the information on social media. And I can't remember if there was information from the RCMP or if they read something from a media outlet. But either way, it came in for basically somebody just saw something online, they called, they provided information, and then I was assigned, myself and another member, we were assigned to go talk to those people and then provide the information that they gave us back to the investigators, the main investigators, who then determine whether that's factual or not.
And was it relevant?
I don't know.
Okay.
So that's the thing with our files is not to get into a huge big discussion about files in terms because it's complicated, but there are 3 people that manage the day-to-day, that manage the overall investigation. Everybody else that's involved with the investigation is assigned a task. They go chase down that task, they provide the information back, and then they're given a new task and they go back out and run that task. So they don't, other than the information they have specifically gathered, they're not privy to what the other 30 police officers are doing. Only the main investigators are privy to that information, and they're the ones that are making the decisions about where things go based on the evidence and the information that's being gathered. So unless you're in the triangle, as we call it, all I would know is the information that I gathered. I don't know what the other people gathered, so I don't know if it was accurate, factual, or not.
And just articulate again the message to the public who are consuming these shows, consuming what they see on social media. What's your message to them?
So my message to them would just be like anything. The shows, as much as they, most things, like I choose to believe that most things start from a good place. Ultimately, these are shows that are generally being created to be monetized by the creators of the show or by the creator on that platform. And that information that they're gathering, it'll be widely shared, but the fact checking is minimal or sometimes non-existent. And people do tend to believe the more that it's shared, the more factual something is. Just because something is shared a million times doesn't make it more factual. It's no more factual than if it was only shared one time. So that's all. It's just a matter of, you know, I would just suggest any information you consume from any source is always just, you know, kind of think about it critically and perhaps try to do your own independent, you know, fact checking if you want to, before you kind of come to a conclusion or an opinion about, you know, form an opinion about whatever it is that you're watching. So that's really all it is. Yeah, I guess take things with a grain of salt. Probably the best way to put it.
And you mentioned YouTubers can and are monetizing this content, which some experts would say deduces the victims of crimes or the families of the victims of crime or missing persons investigations are kind of reduced to content, consumable content. Do you have ethical concerns with that, you know, in dealing with the people who are dealing with a tragic loss or a tragic situation?
For sure. I think even to boil it down to the simplest, to perhaps the simplest example, a car crash, a fatal car crash on a highway, and there are people that are at the collision that are sharing photos and imagery from that collision, but the police aren't there yet and the ambulance isn't there yet, and we don't know what we have, and somebody may have died and is now in a road where we're trying to get there, we're trying to determine who they are, and then we need to find their families to inform them. Before we can do any of that, this information is already being shared, and I know from personal experience, family members have found out that their loved one was deceased on a highway from that. So it's like anything. The information that we're sharing, we don't always necessarily think about the impacts on the actual people that are living with this day to day. And that can be certainly difficult when you talk about true crime podcasts, true crime YouTube videos, any type of online platform where we're sharing and creating this kind of content. You know, there is a family at the end of the day, or there are loved ones, there's family, there's friends, there's a whole community that is impacted by, you know, whatever incident it is that we're discussing. And I do think that probably there are times when those people we're not, you know, thinking enough about the impact on those people and this information being shared, and just the constant, you know, the constant stream of the information, right? Like you can try and turn it off, but it's you know, it's one of those things, we're so interconnected now that you're going to see it almost anywhere you go. So yeah, so there are definitely concerns for sure.
And what can that impact be?
So it can just be just on the family, right? Like, so, you know, when there's a difficult thing that's happened to you, obviously the healthiest thing to do is try and deal with that, get supports to try and deal with it, and try and kind of move through it in a healthy way. But if you're constantly living in that and there's constant information just constantly being shared through the days, the weeks, the months, sometimes the years, that person is living this every day, and it's very difficult for them to get out of that cycle. So, you know, a year from now, 2 years from now, the information that gets shared, that's continuing to be shared, they're still living with that, and it makes it difficult for them to then try and move past that. Obviously, when we're talking about like police investigations, those are hard, especially missing people where we haven't found the person, because then the closure's not there, and we are keenly aware of that, and that's what we're constantly working towards, to try and get closure for a family. But it does make it difficult for them when, you know, this is something that's always in the background, that is always there for them, but then it keeps being brought to the forefront constantly, and that's, I think, probably the hardest part and the hardest impact on a family.
They did not find or identify any scent of human remains during their search. So they searched the property around the family's home, they searched the area where we found the pink blanket, the pipeline area, and the intersecting trails, and they didn't, the dogs didn't indicate on any scent of human remains during those searches.
What does that mean?
Well, it means that they didn't locate any human remains or anything associated to this file or any open files, so there was no human remains found. It means that we've, you know, basically completed that area of the search. It doesn't necessarily mean that that there's no possibility that there isn't human remains there. There could have been a chance the dogs maybe missed it or whatever, but at the end of the day, we haven't located any human remains.
So it doesn't mean that there is not human remains there?
There's always a possibility that maybe the scent didn't hit the dog that day or what have you, but we're confident in the search patterns that were deployed and based on the best practices of our police dog services human remains detection handling unit, and we were confident in the search done, but we did not find human remains.
Help the public understand how there could still be a possibility, though. What other factors could be at play?
Well, I mean, the conditions at the time were good for the work we were doing, but I'm not entirely sure of exactly the technical things or the technical kind of terms to use associated to why they wouldn't have got seen or how something could be found in the area. But regardless, they could be tucked away in different areas. There could be anything that could have caused an odor not to be picked up by the dog. But again, to our best practices and the training and expertise of our PDS handling unit, we feel we've exhausted the area as best as we can.
Really, there's no way you could say with 100% certainty.
There just isn't a way I could say with 100% certainty. There's the reality is we're dealing with nature and you know, things could happen that we don't understand right now. And at the end of this, when we find out where Jack and Lilly are and bring them home, then we should have those answers and understand better.
How many days were the teams on the ground?
I believe it was around 3 days that the teams associated to this particular search, and they searched roughly 40 kilometers of area during that time.
And what do you mean by 40 kilometers? Is that?
Well, they do, again, I'm not a PDS dog handler, so I can't talk about all the specifics, and I wouldn't talk about all the specifics related to an investigation, but in general, they run certain search patterns, and they do, certain techniques and drills to kind of put the dogs out there and do the searching. So to say exactly how that looks, but they covered roughly 40 kilometers of area during the 3 days that they were searching, and covered all the areas that we felt were relevant to our investigation.
Did they search inside the trailer?
I would have to get back to you for specifics on that, but they did search in and around the property. I wouldn't be able to answer for sure right now. I could quickly find them. We'll get Stratcoms to find that answer, but I'm not sure if they went inside, but they did do the whole property around and the area around there, the pipeline trails, where the pink blanket's at, and then intersecting paths and areas. So.
Did one of the handlers question the children's stepfather, Daniel Martell?
I can't comment on what was said between Mr. Martell and the dog handler. That's really not something I'm aware of or have knowledge on, and I don't have any comment there. So,
would it be common practice for a dog handler to question people who are involved in investigation?
There may be circumstances. I mean, I'm not sure that there's strict protocols on talking or not talking. I mean, when a dog handler, and maybe not protect this circumstance, but if you show up somewhere and you need to use a dog, you would probably gather some information to help you get that started. So there could be reasons for sure for PDS to be talking to somebody at the scene to get the information they need. But again, there's no solid and fast rules on that. So yeah, there may, they may talk to people when they deploy, when they may not. So.
Given there were no human remains detected and that these were locations that were the highest areas of probability, is there any other possibility of cadaver dogs being brought in again?
Absolutely. If we have information or evidence or facts that suggest that there'd be benefit to bringing in whatever resources available to the RCMP, we will look at deploying that resource when it's relevant, pertinent, and beneficial to the investigation. So if there were information or anything that we needed to do or an area we needed to cover again or anything like that, then we would look at bringing them back in and having that done.
What happens now?
Now we continue on with our investigative work. Nothing stopped from the second day of this investigation when major crime took carriage and began collating and sorting and organizing the information and planning the investigation. We haven't stopped. We've talked with a number of people. We've got over 1,000 taskings that we're still creating new ones and developing new areas to gather information from. We've reviewed over 8,000 videos, thousands of hours of video from the area, and we've done an extensive ground search using both technical capabilities, partner agencies, GSAR, DNR, to as thoroughly as we possibly can search the area around the home and those other areas that I mentioned. And that if we continue to gather information, make decisions based on that, and if those information suggests that we need to do more searching, we will.
So the investigation hasn't let up since May 2nd?
No, it has not let up, and it won't. This is not something that we stop working on. We've got 2 young children, Lilly and Jack, who've gone missing from their home, and it is a Missing Persons Act investigation still at this time. But we need to find answers to that. There's a lot of legitimate public concerns about how 2 children go missing and we can't find them, so we're going to continue until we have answers.
RCMP have been conducting forensic testing, including on the pink blanket that you mentioned. What can you say about what results came back or what we know about the forensic testing?
Of course, I can't say much about the details because it's part of our investigation and there's a process we go through, and we don't want to put out much information. But we've been working with our National Laboratory Services to have the DNA testing done and to get any type of testing related to this investigation in as timely manner as possible.
It's been at least a week since the dog handlers were on site. Why is there a lag in informing the public of what they didn't find?
Well, I'm not sure about the lag. We put our information together. We wanted to make sure that we provide accurate information to the public, and both that and some availability for me to be able to come and talk to the public. We wanted to make sure that I had that availability. So there was some delays about that, and we didn't have immediate information that we felt was going to change or collect evidence for us or change the direction of the investigation. So we felt we should maintain an organizational approach to this and make sure that we're prepared to provide the information we have and set up these QAs. So that's a bit of the delay. But basically there wasn't immediate information we felt we needed to share with the public, and that we would take the time to get our messaging in line and set up the meetings like this. So.
You're a major crimes investigator, and yet this case is being investigated under the Missing Persons Act. Is that still the case?
Absolutely. Yes, it is, under the Missing Persons Act. One of the things that major crime brings is the ability to collect, manage, collate, organize, and review large volumes of information using some of our standard practices on information control and management. So when you have a file like this that's large, we do support an investigative capacity. So there are other areas that sometimes major crime would support an investigative capacity. Larger incidents that maybe aren't necessarily the specifics of major crime, but they need that extra added boost for file management, information management, things like that. So we do support in different areas like that, but we are the lead on this investigation because of the large size, the volume, and our ability to interconnect different parts of the RCMP to kind of understand what their capabilities are and bring to bear on a given situation. So that's part of the reason why we remain involved in the lead in the investigation.
So to be clear, it's currently not a criminal investigation.
No, it's not. We don't have any. We haven't collected evidence or facts or information that suggests criminal investigation or charges or anything like that at this time. So we are still investigating a Missing Person Act.
The news release today mentioned you're exploring all possibilities. I think a lot of people are wondering what the possibilities are here.
Yeah. Of course, I can't talk about our investigative theories and our direction, but part of the role of being an investigator is to be unbiased and collect information and fact to make decisions based on that. So we continue to do that, and we will continue to do that until we have the answers we need to bring Jack and Lilly home.
What would you say to members of the public, members of the family who really want answers?
What I would say to them is that we are grinding as hard as we can to get those answers for them. We want the answers as much as everyone else. We're family people. We have children, we have families, we're aunts, uncles, grandparents, we're everything, not a grandparent yet, but we have the same connections to our communities and our families as everyone else, and we understand the concern. We are concerned, and we are working hard to gather all the information that we can to get the answers to bring Jack and Lilly home, and we won't stop that.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I would like to thank the public for the cooperation and information that they have provided. I would like to just identify that if anybody does have any further information or facts or evidence or anything that they feel could assist us in locating Jack and Lilly, to please call us, and we will follow up and gather that information and follow up with that. So, but we do appreciate that. And I would like to say that, you know, this is a very tough time for the public at large, the investigators, but especially the family. I can't imagine what they must be going through, and you know, we're doing the best we can to get answers for them and